Many people say greatness is in their blood, but when you're born into a family of boxing champions, winning is written into your DNA. Leon McKenzie is definitely one of life's winners. A prolific goal scorer who got past keepers in all 4 professional leagues. Leon helped Norwich clinch Premier League promotion in 2003 and played for another decade before swapping his boots for gloves, joining the elite group of athletes who excelled as professional footballers and boxers. Leon spent 4 years in the ring before retiring from sport for good. Now an inspirational mental health speaker, boxing PT and occasional talk sport host, I caught up with my longtime friend to talk vulnerability, racism and making a film with The Rock. Hello, I'm Jason Lee. Welcome to the AbsoluteLee podcast. Today I've been joined by a friend and a really special guest. I'm going to introduce Leon McKenzie. Leon, welcome.
Yes, Jay, good. How you doing?
Listen, lovely to see you, my man. You know,
Always.
We do talk regularly, but to speak to you at this level, you know, on camera, on the mic is going to be something else. So you've been really honest about your mental health and your struggles over the years, you know, but what kind of made you decide to be so open about it? I mean, because transparency is the biggest thing, really, especially in our industry, to talk openly about it. What kind of gave you the kick to say, you know what, I'm going to talk about it openly?
I would say because of the whole mental health situation, I've done a lot of education around it. I've got a lot of education around it, having suffered a lot of myself by myself. And it got to a point where I was just tired. I was tired, but I also feared a lot. So with the industries that we're in, or that we've been in, it's obviously quite judgmental in itself. So there's always that fear of, oh my gosh, like if I say this or say that. And I got to a point where I tried to attempt my own life, just while I was at Charlton, and it didn't sit too well with me. I honestly believed that this world would be better off without me in terms of how I was feeling emotionally. You know, so all my thoughts, feelings and emotions were all over the place. And obviously, as you know, I've got 5 beautiful kids, totally amazing. And the thought of, you know, that I could have potentially left them, you know, I realize where my power is today. So when I look back at everything and the reason why I spoke, and there were a few little triggers, but I thought when I woke up in hospital, the day after I tried to attempt my life, I was just completely numb. I had my family around my bedside and just completely numb, but was still in this thought process of like, why am I still here? Even seeing all my family crying and everything, I was just like, so something was definitely wrong. But around then, it just wasn't the topic to really speak about as such. So even when, you know, you go to the, you know, I know I mentioned the PFA a few times. I'd gone to the PFA a few times, spoken to a few people. A lot was kind of passed on in terms of what I was trying to cry out for help. But at that time in football, unfortunately, a lot was passed on in and it was just like no one really wanted to really tackle the what's happened or what's going on. And I just felt, so I kind of didn't really get anywhere with that. And then Gary Speed's situation happened where he had sort of taken his life, and he was successful in doing that, and it's such a sad tragedy. But it was another reason to be like, nah, I need to start speaking. I can't keep this to myself anymore. I did believe at the time that there's going to be so many other footballers at the time who would probably be suffering or not trying to, you know, not really knowing how to articulate or be as open as I potentially could be. And I just told my story. And shortly after, I kept doing that. And that led into speaking all over, you know, the UK, and now sort of, you know, went on to different countries, you know, as time goes on. But speaking for me was the best thing I ever done, because I didn't realise, not only did, you know, former athletes, current athletes contact me after I'd you know, put things out in the open, but it was therapeutic in itself. It gave me a different kind of strength. It gave me a reason to, a different purpose in life. And then as life goes on, you go through different types of challenges, and you just, I guess you learn different coping mechanisms, and I think that's what I've done all along, even up until this day.
I've listened to you talk about this subject numerous times. You know, I've read your book. I've used your book when I've been with young players as maybe some sound bites and some inspiration. But you know, people won't really know our journey and how long we've known each other. And when I hear you talk about it, it's never easy for me to hear. And I remember the time, you know, I called you. And, you know, you kind of know historically about some of my life and the fact that, you know, I lost a brother to mental health. You know, you told me about your sister. I mean, we've known each other since our Peterborough days. You know, you as a young player, a bit older than yourself. And in those days, we couldn't really identify mental health, but we started to talk about it. Even then, there was a few other players there that was exhibiting some mental health issues as well. And I think we've always had that bond in terms of, I kind of get it. But, you know, in terms of football, to not be able to speak openly about it in a football environment, that's the biggest problem that we've had to deal with, right? So if you're not speaking to somebody outside externally, you always felt, obviously playing, that it wasn't something that you could share. I mean,
you know, I believe in energy. So, you know, even when I came to Peterborough, and, you know, I remember this, you know, like it was yesterday. And I'd obviously had been before. Was you there when I came on loan?
No, I wasn't there.
Right, so I would have came when I came as permanent, right? So I always remember this because
you was the big cheese that came in.
Of course. Yeah. I was a big deal in terms of like that bravado kind of like, you know, I was coming, but I was coming to prove a point, not only to myself, but like I'd been, you know, let go from Palace. That's where I started. Didn't work out how I wanted it to work out, but it was time to kind of grow into the player I knew I could be.
It was your time, it was your moment.
So when I came to you, and then obviously I remember coming into the changing room one time, I just see you sitting there kind of like grinning, and it was just like the energy just connected. It was just like, yeah, I see you. I know you are, and I see you. But there was a mutual respect there, and you can't, that energy, it don't just come along like wishy-washy. It was very real in terms of just, I don't even have to say nothing to you, and vice versa. And it was just like that respect was there straight away. So already my heart was like, yeah, he's real, I can tell. And then from then, as you see, even when we was playing, like, so me and you had like a partnership in a lot of games, and it was just like, you obviously a bit older and that, but you had this sort of presence in that anyway, and obviously you like to brock a few heads in that anyway, which I realised as time goes on, right? He's settled down now, by the way, guys. He's settled down now.
Yeah,
but
calm now,
when he was playing, you know, we'd have like a little thing where we just like look at each other and we could just like wire each other straight away. And the game might not be going too well, but you'd just be like, Lee, like, let's go, man. Like, come on, let's go now. And then it would just be like, and then I just turned into this little like...
yeah, you had the energy.
I just had this energy would just rise from nowhere. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know, I'm chasing this, I'm chasing that, I'm brocking this, and you're getting onto your flick-ons and...
But we had each other's back, didn't we? It was more 100%. Than that. There was respect, we had each other's back. It was
everything, like, you know, it was everything what a partnership should be. But I think that partnership was more so what it was because of the off-the-field energy, which, you know, sometimes football's fake. Sometimes, like, yeah, you can be a partnership with someone, but those real partnerships is when you truly respect each other off the pitch, and you have a greater understanding and energy off the pitch, and it will spread when you're on the pitch, you know. So
I'll tell you one of the reasons why I think we hit it off as well is because obviously I knew you as a young guy. I knew you had a lot to prove, or you wanted to prove. You know, Barry Fire being the manager he was, he would always give you that opportunity as some real characters, Bullard, whatever it may be. But I could see through a lot of that as well. So I knew there was a vulnerable side to you. I love the swagger.
I was sensitive.
Yeah, sensitive, but I love the swagger. And being a bit older than you, maybe I'd experienced some of those things already, so I was better placed to maybe try to give you some advice and some, like, let's be calm, we'll be okay. Always had the belief that you had the talent to go on to play at the highest level. But I just think not only was it maybe good for you to have met me at that time, it was good for me to meet you because in terms of, as I said, addressing some of my issues, in terms of, you know, mental health and some members of family, and as I've mentioned, my brother already, it wasn't something that I'd really spoken about to anybody or opened up about. It was just like, okay.
So why did you feel that you could speak to me?
I don't know. I think, as I said, you showed some vulnerabilities, which very few people do within football. Okay, so for someone to do that, I think I've got more respect for somebody who's prepared to say, you know what, things ain't great all day, every day. And you know what, you know, this is what it is. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can work with that. And if you're going to be real with me, I'll be real with you. And if I can help you going forward, that'll always be the case. So that was a good basis for us to have a relationship to build on. And within football clubs, you know, they are just acquaintances. There are very few. We both played for lots and lots of teams. There are very few people that I still keep in touch with from various teams. But, you know, you'll be one of them. And there was some really good players at Peterborough who, not really good players in terms of what they achieved, but maybe some good people as well that we still keep in touch with. So to see your journey, to be part of your journey, has not been easy because, as I said, watching it from where I'm watching it, seeing you do what you do, you know, with your personal and the boxing as well. You know, I've been to most of your fights, and to watch you fight, Leon, I'm not gonna lie, like watching a friend or family member go through that emotionally, like draining, like I was like, oh.
Everyone said that that's close to me.
It's tough.
Everyone that's close with me
too much.
found it really
too
hard.
much.
Like Doobs, all my close people, they were like, Lee, I'm not gonna lie, I found it hard watching, regardless of where I was winning and whatever.
Too much.
It was a lot to take on because you obviously you know me from a deeper level, you know. But yeah, no, listen. On a real, you know, like I know you've grown like so much as a person. Like I've seen everything, you know, family tight, everything tight. Makes me proud to see where you stand today. But there's a period, obviously, you know, you was the best man at my wedding, and then unfortunately through like life circumstances, you know, those things sort of ended for me. But at the same time, I just lost myself. So although we had that period of I weren't really sort of in contact, or, you know, I didn't really sort of see you as much, and I just completely vanished, you know what I mean? It's not because there wasn't love for you in the family. It was just literally me just trying to try and figure out what's going on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to find a way to develop as a person and try and grow. And I feel like I'm doing all right, but again, it's not, you know, it's hard work. Yeah,
I know it's a day to day, and we speak, and there's good days and bad days.
As you know,
of course. I want to talk to you about 10 count. You know, 10 count. We've spoken about this. It sounds amazing. Seen some bits on the socials, but also, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about it. We spoke about some of your frustrations. 5 years in the making. You know, what's been going on with that? Where are we at with that?
Well, 10 Count is a documentary film that I'd sort of when I started my boxing journey, really. So started filming and started doing some, you know, where was sort of moving with my life in terms of boxing, mental health and everything I was doing. And it turned into a bigger sort of picture. And the fundamentals is obviously me, my journey from like football to boxing, and mental health. But the bigger picture in it is me just trying to get to the real reason why athletes are so susceptible to mental health issues, because I've seen so many breakdowns, over the course of life. And I wanted to really tackle those issues. And again, 5 years is taken, it's now ready. Interviewed athletes all over the world, as far as, Kelly Holmes, Ricky Hatton. So all these guys done some amazing, powerful interviews, which you won't see them do probably interviews as well as it was at the time I interviewed them, because, everyone was still sort of trying to find themselves. Obviously, Dame Kelly Holmes now is probably in a different place to when she done that interview with me. So but it's real. It's things that need to be out there for the, not just sports world to see, but society to see, with the challenges and the difficult things that we can go through. And it's ready. So now it's been to a few festivals. Went to a Melbourne festival. Started creating a bit of noise, and as you could see, I'd put some things on my socials and sort of like say, to create a little bit more noise as well. The interesting thing about this is, what I'm learning is, we're touching on a subject that, unfortunately, I think when it's these particular platforms, whether it's a Netflix, Amazon, the BBC, they've all, apparently seen the film or watched the film, and the response back was, "Thank you, it's not for us, but good luck." So there's no feedback in that. It's pretty shallow in terms of what the actual film is representing, and it was majorly discouraging with all the work that's gone into the film. When it does finally go to someone who has got a bit of heart and compassion around what I've done for the last 5 years and my team have done. But this ain't, ultimately about me. This is about putting something out there, which I feel like is going to really relate to a lot of people and potentially save a life or two, just through the stories and the way of life within this whole mental health life. It's a massive topic of today in society, and I see a lot of people talking about issues of mental health. But I'm sorry, and I'll say it, like I would say I'm probably one, if not the leading sports person to openly speak when it wasn't even a topic. And that's where my value is. That's why I want to keep that passion for it. And I want this film to be out there, regardless of money aspects of it all. That's out of my control. My 5 years waiting and for this to come, as has been so frustrating in itself. And now it's ready. And where, mental health is today. And the things that are on Netflix, the things that are on Amazon or the BBC or whatever it is, I'm talking about, suicide and mental health and people, self-harming and top athletes going through all these major struggles. Yeah, but it's not good enough for your TV. So for me, when it is ready and hopefully someone believes in what I believe in, because no one believes in it like I do, no one. And until someone does, I don't really know when the date release is going to be. I don't really know the next sort of move, but I know it's ready, and I'll keep pushing. I know we've got some, major sort of meetings with Sky and HBO, and I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to hear from the director to say, Lee, it's been commissioned and it's going to go, and then. I can't wait for you all to see it. But until then, I've been getting declined, yeah.
Isn't this hope, people listening, someone watches or hears about it and maybe some independent investor, whatever it takes to get it moving, because it's too good to be sitting.
Oh, yeah, no, you have to come and see it. It's I know it's not just because it's my film or based around me. It's not really fundamentally to do with me like that. But it's a powerful film, and there's powerful messages in it. And you know, once upon a time, you know, I was where I was, but it's all about the response. It's all about the comeback. It's all about, you know, when life can get even worse after the attempted suicide. Really, when you look at the statistics around what was going on in my life, things got worse. You know, going to prison and you know, going through a divorce, a major divorce, and just, you know, things were testing. So, you know, to go into a professional boxing ring after those situations again in life will show people that, you know, we've always got that fight in us. We just got to find that a way of operating that.
You come from a sporting or a family dynasty, really, in terms of boxing and sporting excellence. Was you under any pressure, really, to go and achieve to be a sportsman or an athlete?
No, I think, you know, like my childhood was great to a certain extent, but also very kind of psychologically damaging, with things that I saw as a child really affected my development in where I was as an adult. So there's lots of mental health issues that only until now, because I've done education around it, I can understand. I can see depression when I was 8, 9 years old at that age. But watching my dad and uncle, obviously my dad being a former British European champion and my uncle Duke being a former 3-time world champion, when I was 7, 8 years old, I observed quite a lot. So I observe all the time. As much as the negative stuff, I also see the positive stuff. So when I seen that my dad get up at like 5 a.m, stupid o'clock, training how he trains, you know, just doing some mad things. And I was just like, wow, like, I rate that. I know it kind of gave me the ability to want to be something. I didn't quite know if it was a boxer, but, you know, I loved the Rocky films and I was all like, you know, always so enticed with those films and kind of saw my dad as a bit of a hero in just the way his work ethic was. I think I got that from him, just the way he was as a person. I saw when he did things, he did from his heart, and I took a piece of that. And I just saw it as in an infectious kind of rhythm that was in my life at an early age. And I was going to go down the boxing route and just kind of was iffing and ahhing, was going to properly go through the amateur route and go, you know, where it would be like ABAs and, you know, national championships and maybe looking to push on to like a GB, try and get into the Olympics or whatever. Like those dreams were there. But it was a choice I had to make between sort of football and boxing around that sort of 13, 14 years old mark. And I just gone on trial to Crystal Palace for like, I was there like 6 months on trial, imagine that. But I knew that from my character then, being on, you know, trial for like 6 months, it would have probably broke a lot.
So how old was you if you was on a 6-month trial?
So I was a 6-month trial. I would have been like 14 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 and a half maybe. Just touched 15. And then, yeah, I was on trial for a long time, but finally got the 2-year apprenticeship, which is scholarship nowadays. So I signed this YTS for 2 years. And then, yeah, just like had to make a decision. One morning, my dad knocked on my door. Son, it was like stupid o'clock in the morning. Son, come, let's go for a run. Champ, let's go for a run. And I was like in bed and I was so tired. And I just looked at him and I said like, nah, Dad, it's football for me, you know. It's football for me still. And he's just like, he kind of grinned, like it wasn't no pressure. He's like, all right, champ, yeah, all right, yeah. Yeah. And he bowled out. And I never looked back, Jay, to be honest. I had my first broken heart around those times of just signing for Crystal Palace, actually. And it was a make or break situation. Make or break. My first broken heart, it was. And I remember again, my dad come in my room. I must have been in my room for a week, like crying, like, 14 and a half, 15 years old. And I just signed for Crystal Palace. And I needed to go, training and all that. And I could, honestly, for a good week or so, I was like just in my room, just not doing good. And then my dad came in my room and gave me a bit of a rude awakening and just said, like, son, you're going to blow it all.
Broken heart. What, you fit up with a girlfriend or something?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I had a girlfriend leave me, little puppy love thing, innit? And it broke me. Yeah, it hit me. I was like, right, this is quite hard to take. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought, oh, okay, but it's a thin line of what that break can do. And I remember my dad having that conversation with me and just saying, like, if you don't sort yourself out, and he said some things to me, and I was just like, I didn't want to let him down. And honestly, the week that was commencing, I trained wicked, like so good, and then I kind of kicked on. I from someone that came into Crystal Palace as someone that had ability but still very raw, had the attributes, but no one ever taught me how to hold up a ball and certain movements and give me a sort of education around the game. So I had to learn all that within that 2 years. But that first year I wasn't playing straight away. I was on the bench and wasn't the first class striker. So many strikers ahead of me. Within my second year, I probably became one of the leading goal scorers in England, competing with Owen and Jason Ewell and Carl Court and players like that. Never got an England opportunity, but definitely was firing, within the South London kind of area, and then that's it. And then made my debut the year after. So it's all how you react to certain things, innit? It's all about reaction and what you do, and that's what becomes your power.
I think you went out on loan to Fulham. Was you at Fulham when I was at Watford?
May have been. I went out to Fulham for a month.
Who was the manager?
Ray Wilkins. No, it was Ray Wilkins.
Was Cookie there?
Yes, he was playing.
Yeah. So that was the time I went.
So that was the time then.
Yeah.
So yeah, they was all there.
We won the league. I have to get that in. We won the league that year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know that. It was a bad time for me, actually. It was a bad experience. I was only like 18.
Going out on loan is, I don't know about you, but I went out on loan twice. And
it didn't work for me.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to go out on loan. You just want to be at your club, and it feels like a bit of a disappointment. Why am I going out on loan? I'm good enough. But I always encourage players to go out on loan, because if you're not playing anywhere, you need to go and play somewhere else and show people what you're about.
This is the thing that was interesting about that. I went there, but I didn't play. I played once in the month. I started one game. I didn't play very well against Bournemouth, I remember. I came off the bench a few times, but for whatever reason,
just wasn't playing.
It was Kevin Keegan and Ray Wilkins at the time. There was a lot going on within the boardroom, and I guess decisions were getting made, and just it was really sort of strange. And I think, bless him, probably didn't really know me properly then, but sort of Ray then, bless his soul, tagged me as I had a bit of an attitude, but it wasn't because I had an attitude. I just was so disappointed to be dropping down 2 leagues at the time and not to play. A game.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand.
That wasn't in the plan, was it? You go there to go and get games.
I didn't understand that. And if you know me, you'd know, like, no, it's not because he's got an attitude. He's just obviously upset. And Kevin Keegan was, I think he became manager in the end or something. Did he?
Yeah, he was manager, that's right.
So I know there was a lot going on. Very good coach, though, Kevin Keegan. Good striker coach. And that's it. Yeah, just came in. I came back to Palace. I went to speak to Steve Coppell, sat down, looked at him, and I just said to him, don't send me out on loan again. And he just laughed. And he's like, Lee, I had to do that because...
For people that don't know much about Steve Coppell, I mean, he's spoken about anxiety, hasn't he, and mental health and that before. And, I would imagine at that time he was probably the perfect coach or manager for you to...
He's the best man manager for me in my career because
He got it.
He just got it. He didn't. He's not as man. I've seen him shout very rarely, and sometimes he's shouted at me for whatever reasons. But his man management in terms of what he tried to perceive was spot on. Like, I wanted to do well for him, and there's not many managers that I want to do well for.
Yeah.
But when they come at you correct and they give you that respect and they see something in you, it gives you that confidence anyway to say, well, I know he believes in me, right? I think a lot of managers go wrong today. It's all become obviously a business anyway, but it's very few that have got that, man management sort of skill.
The empathy, but also just believing in what, I need to believe in what you're telling me. Even if you're leaving me out the team, I need to believe in why you're doing it. I think if you believe in your manager, if you believe in the coaches of what they're trying to, prescribe or whatever, then it's like you're gonna want to do well. I think too many of us are just too like, oh yeah, don't fancy him, not for us, and then it's like you're left out, and then it becomes a bit of a spiral downward situation. All right, I want to talk to you also. I mean, as much as we're talking about mental health, and that's played a major part in your life, I want to talk about discrimination and racism. I mean, we're both mixed race, black fathers, white mothers. When you speak about race as somebody who's mixed race, sometimes I don't know if people can fully understand that you're still having to deal with racism on a level that, colorism is a big thing for people. So for me personally, to have to explain to somebody that whether if I was back in the day, I'd have still been a slave. All right, that's the bottom line. My skin might have been lighter. I might have worked in the house as opposed to working in the fields, but I'd have still been a slave.
Yeah,
I'd have still been seen as somebody who's not as, as important as a white person. So explain it in that way, because when you hear some people depict mixed race people and say, well, you're as much white as you are black. On the outside, I could never pull off being a white person. I know for a fact that I'm seen as a black person. I'm comfortable with that. For you growing up, how did you deal with, or how do you think it shaped your life in terms of being mixed race and dealing with racism, and has it affected your children in any way? Because obviously they're mixed race also.
Yeah, it's a good question. When you're growing up, you kind of learn yourself. And I had white friends and I had black friends. And what I realized about even in those situations, being mixed race, that is like, would I say I learned how to adapt? Probably not that. I learned how to be myself, but I still felt that at that time when I was growing up, it's like I didn't really fit in with my white friends, but I didn't really fit in with my black friends. I was kind of in the middle. And it was like a little bit challenging in terms of like, I know who I am, but it's like I'd hear my white friends making black jokes. I'd hear my black friends cussing white people, and I've got a white mum, and it's like you're always in the middle to try and fight. Like, hold on a minute, like I get it, but people would still, whether it's me, my white friends, they don't see me as mixed race. They don't say, oh yeah, that's Lee, he's got a white mum. They just see, yeah, you're black, innit? Like really and truly, that's what they see. My black friends, we're on the other side. Some of them will be like, yeah, you're mixed. So it's like, but you're not fully black, innit? But you're mixed, so you're all right. It's kind of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shut up, man, I'm more black than you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, but
in terms of knowing your culture.
In terms of knowing my culture, knows like how I've been brought up, whatever. Yeah, I got a white mum, but it's my dad that cooked most of my food. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I wasn't really, a baked beans and fish fingers kind of kid. Like, I remember my dad. You had your soul food. You had your rice and peas. I grew up on all that. You know what I mean? I grew up on everything. So, like, I had my culture where it was. But I was just comfortable. So I really have no issues as such. I got bullied by, when I went to high school, when I was sort of going through it about sort of 12, I got bullied quite badly by some white people and also black guys, which hurt me probably the most. Like, so I got bullied quite bad from the black guys or whatever. I had little girls around me around time. I was a bit of a sweet boy. I had curly black hair.
You had curly black hair, yeah?
Curly, little curls, man, little curls. You know what I mean? That.
Yo, I had dreadlocks. Can you imagine that? Look at the state of us now, yeah?
I know, it's unbelievable. No, it's funny. Like, you remember like crisscross days? Yeah. I had proper. I'm coming to school one time. I had the proper little plaits.
Oh wow.
Yeah, proper sweeper, proper little plaits, like all the little bands and that in my coming. I thought I was bad.
The daddy boy, can make you.
They punched me up for that, boy. Punched me up for that, but it molded me just to say, listen, whether you're my black people, them, whether you're white people, them, I learn how to value myself. Yes, I'm mixed race and I'm proud of what I am, and I believe there's strength in both, but it's just understanding what your values of how I see myself. You might not see me how I see myself, that's fine, but how I see myself is the most important thing, because when you identify that, then you can have more love for yourself. Therefore, it won't be so confusing in the long run. Because the more you get mixed up in what way do I go, what way do I turn, or whatever it is. It's not about turning or whatever it is. It's about knowing what your heart is about and knowing whatever colour is on the outside. If you're a good person, that will go further than just being like, I am this colour and what kind of thing. Too many stereotypes around both colours anyway, personally. And I'm just happy and very proud to be mixed race.
Well said. Okay, so in terms of when you played, I mean, did you suffer any racism whilst playing? And I've heard you talk about suffering racism from teammates. I mean, I can remember some situations, but, I let you elaborate. I mean, to receive it from a teammate in a working environment, I mean, how did that go down?
My first scenario was at Crystal Palace, and it was a South African goalkeeper that we had, and all the Palace everyone was there, but I wasn't. I'd broken through, but I wasn't like.
You're a new kid on the block.
I was sort of new kid on the block anyway, but only a very, very few. Yeah, whether that be like Clinton Morrison, Hayden Mullins, even Steve Coppell. Only very few knew of my background from a fighting family and knew like, okay, Leon's like, if you spoke to like Clinton and that and Hayden and a few other boys, they would have been like, yeah, Leon's like, he's all right, but he's a little bit tapped, isn't it? He's not the full ticket sort of thing. That's how they would expect. So Clinton, that's why someone like Clinton who would never like step on my toes because he just wasn't sure about me and he's seen me switch. So only if you knew of the switch. Obviously, I'm quite quiet, keep myself to myself. But one particular training ground incident, I was playing up front and this goalkeeper just come from South Africa. He must have still been in the slave days or something. I know what he was thinking. But you come into South London and you think you can talk like this. And I'm just like, anyway, so we're playing a game and I remember, I don't know, I didn't hold it up properly or something. And he's shouted out from down the other side and he's gone, McKenzie, hold it up, you black bastard. Loud.
Wow.
And you know when you just like, everyone's looked at me like, and I just paused. Like, black bastard, is he? Do you really just say that? Put black on bastard. And I was just like, and then just something just went, and I literally sprinted to the other end and didn't say nothing. Literally just threw 2 punches bang, bang. I remember the punches. And he dropped and he got up and I begged him to come on. Like I begged him and he just like was like, no. And then he apologized.
Oh, he apologised.
Yeah, he apologized to me the next day, said he's really sorry, didn't get fined, didn't get nothing. Just the couple didn't find me. He said all couple shouted out after I put him down because he was watching on the side was, you didn't do your homework. That's all he said. Loud. You didn't do your homework. So that was quite funny. He always sort of tells that story. But
so he was South African, yeah?
South African kid that just came over, just had it was not educated and like you can't come to South London and start talking like that because you're gonna get dealt with.
Yeah. I've been to South Africa 8 years, so you can imagine it's steeped in history and how they depict racism is deep.
Terrible somewhere, you know what I mean? In different parts, right? So yeah, I think he came from a part where, I mean, he used to say to us all like, oh yeah, where I live, you know, you blacks are slaves in my house. So he used to talk.
What, even in those times?
Even in those times, he'd be like, yeah, he'd be like talking freely. Yeah, I got slaves in my house. I can't even do the accent.
It's not too bad, that accent.
Yeah.
Wow. Not servants, but even servants as black people is seen. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was a steep learning curve for him. You know, you're in England now, South London. Yeah. You're not really going to get away with that.
No, so that was the only sort of one kind of situation. No one's really, as I grew into like my, into proper first team football, no one's really come at me like with the racist thing. Had Guy, obviously, spit at me one time at half time. And we had a little
That's the worst thing ever, right? I can take most things, but for someone to spit on you, it's like...
he chastises it, but he knows, man to man, he knows.
Don't even spit near me, do you know what I mean? Don't even pretend like you're spitting near me.
Yeah, he knows. He couldn't really get to me when he just went like straight at me and I just saw red.
It's head loss.
I just saw red. And then obviously, the rest is history. It's quite a funny story up until then, but yeah. We did see each other later on, many years later. And it's peaceful.
Well, it is what it is. We grow, right?
Yeah,
but listen, you know that I work in this area and I'm always talking and trying to educate people around tackling discrimination, especially racism. And,
yeah, it's important.
And what can be done. Now, I know recently you went down to Westminster. I mean, I couldn't make it last week, but I've been there and done that so many years. And there would have been some really good, important people in the room, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
That conversation. I mean, how did you find it, and what could be done going forward? I mean, we're talking about tackling discrimination, in particular racism, right?
Yeah, I speak to Urfa quite a lot. I find her so...
She's knowledgeable.
So smart. Like, such a powerful young woman.
She sits on the FA Women Board.
Yeah, I know. I know.
do some work with her.
I know she does. Just very intellectual. Very driven. But I believe in what she's trying to do. I believe in her work ethic in terms of trying to change things. There's I see Troy and everyone. I think what we have to do is do this collectively to really make change. There's a lot of talking, and we have this, we have this maybe once a year where we all sort of get together and we raise certain things. But what I'm trying to achieve as well, like I suppose everyone else is how we do actually move forward. Because we can talk every year and we can continue talking, but collectively we need to really get hold of it. It's got to come from players that are playing now as well. It can't, and the problem we've got there is because when you're playing, you're just in that comfortable bubble, right? You don't really want to branch out and really get into these types of things because you're nice and you're earning nice money. You don't want to be, don't want to disrupt the whole team situation. You don't want to disrupt anything. So a lot of players will just turn a blind eye to it and just be like, no, not for me, or just shy away from it. But there is some power in if you get one or two that just, they've got a bit about them and understand the value in how we do collectively move forward. I think it will make a big difference in the changes. And it'd be just more powerful than just talking. How, we identify it, I don't know. I've spoken to her for a few times, and maybe we do like raise some money and do a massive event, put some money, into different areas.
There's
I'm not sure.
Listen, we talk, and that's the thing. Collectively, we talk. There's lots of different steering groups, Black Participants Group, Black Coalition.
Yeah.
People need to understand that there are players, current, former, who are trying to mobilise. People need to understand that. But in terms of finance, I mean, that's a big thing. I think a lot of it needs to be self-financed as opposed to relying upon stakeholders, and which has caveats attached to it. People tell you how to spend your money and what to do.
Yeah.
There are Black entrepreneurs out there. There are people out there that I would like to see come forward that would support some of the ideas that people are doing. So you're right to say that we do need current players, and they don't sense the danger, because when you're a player and you're earning good money, you feel like you're important and part of. But it's as soon as you go from playing to non-playing that you realise very quickly that you're no longer as welcome as you was back at any of the clubs that we played for. It's incredible. You ring them up and it's like, can I get a ticket? And it's, and you think, wow, I actually sweat, blood and tears for this club.
Yeah, I have to
So
say,
the importance, our job is to try and make current players always, not to be negative, but just to show them that, listen, you will retire at some stage. And when you retire, what's your legacy going to be? What can you do? Because don't assume that you're going to fall into coaching. You're going to fall into management, because there's an underrepresentation across all areas for a reason. And we haven't really addressed that situation. So going down to Westminster House of Commons would have been a nice day. So there was no negative attached to that, but it's next steps from there. What comes next? What can we do? So
exactly that. Exactly that. Great. And obviously some amazing effort put from, like yourself, with people that were there. Some good efforts. But yeah, it's about, for me, it's about how we move forward.
Yeah. You're passionate about a lot of stuff, and you've got, I can see you wearing your fight
the
branding
brand,
today, the branding.
Yeah. It's important. These 5 words saved my life, really, when I look at it. And it's a message that is me. It's just like, it's gonna grow. And I will sort of push it. I get my own little things done. I want to try and, push it out there properly. But yeah, it's important. So many people I always see, whether I could be not even driving, I could be on the tube or going for a walk in the park or whatever, and I'll always see someone like sort of looking at it or reading it. Do you know what I mean? So there's a message in there in itself, I believe it's, these words that, fight it, get help, talk. When you hear those words, it will stand out because it will represent something. And that's, just mental health. It's just, sometimes life can knock you, and it's all about how we respond. And my belief is that when we respond best is when we have the ability to talk and have conversations. And that's how you get to the bottom of what you're trying to achieve.
So where's your passion now? What gives you the most joy? What
at the moment,
doing? Yeah.
I love. I'm mentoring under 18s at Crystal Palace. Building relationships with the kids. It does some. This is the club where I first started, right? So the amount of paths I've had to cross, and the ups and the downs and the whole journey in life, to be able to sit down and just know I've covered so many things. I know exactly what you're going through. I know, I look at their mannerisms.
Yeah. Can you see the cocky swagger in some,
the cocky swagger. Said, yep, I used to be you, but you're not all that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, I see the emotional ones.
Yeah.
I see the ones that need that reassurance. I see the ones that are very reserved, think they can do it all by themselves.
Yeah, of course.
Think they know it all. It's not the case. I'm not there to take anything away from them, but only to project good energy and for them to trust me in what I'm trying to do there. I don't put on no staff uniform. I come there
Independent.
independent. I watch. I try and I do certain things with them. We cover certain topics, and we do sometimes some group work, and I'll do one-to-one work. It's the best. It's me giving everything back in what I've experienced in my life, and I think when you're able to do that in life, when you are able to give back and educate others that are just coming through, I think it's probably one of the greatest gifts to be able to do that in life. There's no point living your life achieving so much, going through ups and downs, and your journey's pretty exceptional, to just keep it to yourself. Then I feel like you're gonna just die selfish.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Do you feel like you've covered everything you want to talk about today? Is there anything else that you need to share?
What would I need to share now? I'd like to share, like, it's always, sometimes some of us get challenged in life more than others. And I feel like I'm one of them people that, no matter how things are good, there'll always be something to challenge me or whatever. But you know what? It's all about, always how I say to anyone that's sort of struggling or suffering is it's all about how you respond. What can you do for yourself to go out and find the strength to not only get the right help, but understand the value in yourself to want to make that happen. How you respond is everything. That's always going to be your power. Yeah, embrace what's going on in your life. Embrace what, your thoughts, feelings and emotions, but also embrace the fact that you have the ability to fight in a way, not just to fight like in a boxing way, but to fight back of what means a lot to you. Like, like I say, for me to sit here and be able to speak to yourself, see my children grow, so many things that have happened in my life since the day I tried to end it all and check out a life, makes me understand the value and the love that I have in my life, right? So I believe that we all have that kind of love, but we just gotta find it at the right time. But yeah, it's all love, man. It's just like I say, even good days, bad days. Still to this day, good days, bad days. It's just about understanding. On the bad days, you have to embrace what you have to embrace, but at the same time, not to hold it too much. Just try and find the way, and that might be as simple as going for a walk, having a conversation with a close friend, or just not beating yourself up, and understanding the value in your life, and also that actually it's bad, but it's not that bad, and we can recover from the whatever the storm is that we're going through.
Wow, well said. Listen, it's always good to speak to you, whether it's on air or in person. You know that, man. I'm always
man. Listen, I've got love for you, brother. The drill. Nah, listen, I speak to Anne and that as well. You know what I mean? I speak to the missus and that every so often. But I am. What makes me smile, Jay, is obviously you're doing so much within football and that anyway. But I've always seen you as as an inspiring, strong character. Not just to big you up because you're one of my best people, but it's what I saw when we was playing. Like, I saw you doing your courses, I saw you doing things like to prepare properly. Do you see what I mean? Like, I saw all these things, and we've had our bad moments and good moments in life. And we've experienced lots of things. But as time goes on, the man that you are today is a very good one. And, I see a lot of growth, and your heart is very special. And the way your family is, and the amazing house that you live in now is not just because you were just chilling, sitting on your sofa. You've had to really work hard and identify not only like the triggers and stuff, but identify how you make a difference in life. So I'm proud to know you, mate. You know what I'm saying? Come on, bro.
Listen,
I mean that, bro.
Thank you. you know, for being part of the AbsoluteLee
Yeah.
podcast. And hopefully we can look for the win together. And I wish you all the best, you know that.
Keep winning, man.
All
Keep
right.
winning. Definitely.
Love that, bro. Peace.